Welcome back to the Imaginary Gallery. It is TJ, the host, your host. This is Narcissist Trash Talk. And it's really trash talk because I had the wonderful experience of reconnecting with an old friend of mine from many years back. And after I got to talking with him, found out that he had been in a very similar situation to what I had been through previously. And it's just eerie and disgusting how many of the experiences he went through with his cluster B monster were very similar to what I went through, down to the word, which is additional proof that these people are pathetic. These cluster B monsters are not original. In fact, they all seem to follow the same game plan. Well, the other part of this is to recognize abuse. Because when you're going through it, if there isn't a fist going through your face, you may not think there's any abuse. But we're here to dispel that. So, the friend of mine just happened to get out of a sick relationship, and we were discussing things, and it got a little more detailed, and I heard some of the same quotes that I'd been told, and I think, are these the same people? But of course they weren't. But this particular individual had been living with his partner for a 5-year period, and everything was great for the first few years. But before it all ended, my friend would notice strange things, like they used to spend like every evening together. It was like just automatic. However, like in the 4th year, mid part of the 4th year, he noticed a definite change in the behavior of the partner. Whereas they used to do that, like watch movies at night together, have some food together, go to bed together. Well, all of a sudden, the partner, when he'd come home from work, would already be in bed. And then when he'd wake up, the partner had already left for work. And it was just, at first, like, oh, maybe it's just a strange schedule, but then it continued. And then the other symptoms came in, which I experienced too, where the partner all of a sudden is getting new hairdo, and wearing brand new cologne, and wearing brand new clothes that it had never worn before in the previous 4 years, and would suddenly be busy a lot. The dialogue would go from the partner like this: oh, we're going to go to the Madonna concert next month. And they would go. Well, it was always, oh, we're going to go see Adele performing nude tomorrow night at the ice skating rink, and things like that. But then all of a sudden, during this period of the absences and different scheduling, would be, oh, I'm going to the Bananarama concert next month. I'm not going to be coming home that night. And just things like that had never happened before were all of a sudden happening. Well, that would be enough for anybody to suspect something fishy. Wouldn't it? You've been with this person for 4 years, 4.5, and all of a sudden their behavior changes like this, where it was always, we're doing this, we're doing that, to I'm doing this. Pretty much saying, I'm doing this and you're not. What ended up happening is my friend had suspected, he had a pretty good idea who the other person was, and would start to ask, like, hey, you seem to be spending a lot of time with so and so. Is something going on? And of course, typical was, oh, that's ridiculous. We're just friends. But he couldn't help but notice this person who used to be there every night was oftentimes gone, or too tired when he got home, or whatever the case, many different scenarios, and it just felt wrong. And anybody with common sense, like I did the same, I'd be like, something's going on, what is it? And of course, the typical gaslighting. Oh, you're silly. Oh, you're imagining. You're paranoid. Nothing's going on. I just had a different schedule, or whatever the excuse was. Well, when dealing with a person like this who's clearly up to something yet refusing to fess up, it's a natural response for the target to investigate. And it usually proves to be non-fruit worthy to say things like, hey, you've never spent the night out all night since we've been together. What's going on? Something must be happening. Because you'll be told, oh, I told you why I spent the night elsewhere, da-da-da, lies. Well, you're left with only one solution, which is you have to become a spy. You have to catch this person, because it's like every part of your brain is telling you something's fishy, something. But when you try to address that something fishy, you're gaslighted and told, oh, you're paranoid and imagining things. The friend picked up on the clues, figured out the story, and tried to address it repeatedly and was always told it was wrong. Well, finally, he did a few things, checked a few resources, and basically caught the partner red-handed doing something that shouldn't have been done. And of course, just like with the ones I knew, the typical response or reaction of the other is, how dare you spy? And like, that's all they have to say, retarded. Like, oh, never mind, you've promised me all these months nothing fishy's happening, and now I see it is, and all you can say is, how dare you spy? Huh? Sick. But it's the same story. When I heard this, I was like, oh, this... So you know how sick that is. It's disgusting because it's retarded. And the next part, which parallels my own experience, was trying to talk sense into the monster partner. The situation was twisted and reframed, and it became a matter of where the partner said to my friend, well, you kept suspecting me of doing what you thought I was doing, so because of that, I went ahead and did it. Sick. And number two was, well, you always told me that I couldn't be trusted, so I figured, well, why should I be trustworthy? When you uncover and find out, which in this case he found out the proof, and that is the type of reaction which makes you think you're dealing with a child. But the other part of this video is, for you all out there, if you find yourself involved with the person who does something like this, where they clearly act in a completely different manner than they were before, and you address it, which, you know, if the tables were turned, the other person would address it. So when you attempt, you're just told, oh, whatever you're thinking is wrong, period. There's no more debate. Referring back to the first excuse, which was, well, you kept suspecting me of doing that, so we went ahead and did it. And then, well, you told me I couldn't be trusted, so I figured I better be untrustworthy. Both of those are typical sociopath, psychopath, cluster B, narcissist, monster responses, because they do not have anything to do with reality. What these statements attempt to do is make somebody else responsible for the behaviors of the monster in question. which I'm here to spell that for you in case you already knew but were told you were wrong. I'm here to reinforce that you are not wrong, because the simple fact is this: your evil partner who did what it did and then said, well, because you thought I was doing it, I did, and who said, well, because you said I couldn't be trusted, I figured I wouldn't be trustworthy. Both of those are cop-out fake excuses which have nothing to do with reality because of a very simple truth. He's telling you he ran off with the other person because you had suspected it. He's telling you that you had said he couldn't be trusted, so he went ahead and was untrustworthy. Neither example indicates any kind of personal responsibility, which is a red flag and a clue that you're dealing with an abusive monster and to run. Do not say, oh, I saw a video that told me that if you say it's my fault that you had done such and such, it means you're wrong. You'll be told, oh, that video's stupid. Anyone who says that, there's another video that says the opposite. So I wouldn't share that, even though they're wrong, because it is abusive to do these things, because it becomes apparent later. In this case, this affair was going on long before, but these people like to twist reality and make it out like it's the partner's fault, and that's sick, and that's abusive. And the other part here is something you probably already know, but if you were involved in the situations he and I were in, sometimes we need somebody to remind us, even if they're wearing a goofy sailor hat that still has the price tag on it. And again, this is something for your own knowledge. I wouldn't share it with the monster because it'll just be attacked, because it doesn't fit with the agenda. But when a person tells you that, well, I normally wouldn't do any of this, but because you had said whatever, I did, lies. Sick. Because here's the simple truth. Every single individual is responsible for his or her own actions. So if your partner's trying to tell you that, well, I normally wouldn't mess around behind your back, but because you had suspected me of it, I did, that is a lie. That is a fake. That is an excuse. Because here's the deal. If your partner is with you and has agreed to be with you and you only, well, that's a standard that would be followed, no matter who says what, who does what. And if the partner did meet some other person behind your back and decided to pursue it, there is a moment that everyone goes through before taking action, which is, I'm in a relationship right now and this person here is flirting. Well, they reach a point where they have to make a decision, which is, oh, that person's flirting, I've got to do something about it. And then they do it and then make up those stupid stories. Or a person with a conscience or a sense of morality would be like, I'm kind of already involved, so I don't want to complicate things, but thanks, but no thanks. And that's another decision. But these monsters go ahead and do it, and then later blame you, which is sick and phony and fake. Just like the, well, you said I couldn't be trusted. Well, I figured I'll be untrustworthy. That is negating any personal responsibility for their actions, as if your words are so magic they forced this person to just work against their will to do this terrible affair behind your back. It's just all sick, twisted non-reality. So in case you've heard these excuses, I'm just here to remind you that it's unacceptable and it is abusive, and keep in mind that every adult is responsible for his or her behaviors, and they reach that point where they choose to cross the line, because there are plenty of partners who do the situation where, let's see, the married guy is at work and a pretty young teen girl flirts and winks. Well, he's going to tell himself, if I was a young kid, I might date her, but I'm already spoken for and I'm happy. So it won't go any further. But these narcissist fools will go ahead and run in the bathroom and make love to her. And then when you find out, well, it's your fault because you had done whatever. It's like, wrong. It's nobody's fault except the perpetrator, the predator. But they love to try to make others responsible for their behaviors, and you must just keep in mind that is not reality. And don't bother wasting your breath telling them it's not reality, because you probably already have, and you'd be told, oh, yes, it is. So the best thing is to sneak out quietly and never come back, because these monsters only get worse, and they all play the same sick game.
Well, if I must say, I'm pretty glad to hear that your world's coming down. You're finally learning things like Kim Kardashian's really a man. Michelle Obama is really a man. And
Barbara Bush is a big old bulldog tranny. Welcome to the New World Order. At least some of us are in tune with it. And if you're a boy and don't want to have your private parts cut off, well then, honey, you're not going to make it in the future.
I don't think you're enlightened enough yet, but Madonna and I are Pussy Willow buddies in the Illuminati. They have a different name, but you get the drift.
You're old-fashioned. So what if Hillary Clinton and I are bumping Pussy Willows? That's none of your business. We have a special connection, and you'll never understand it, so don't even try. You know what? I long for the day that you can accept people like me for being just as normal as everyone else. There's nothing wrong with us. I'm a perfect example of pure perfection in health. So I suggest that you... Oh!